Well, spring has sprung, and that means planting season. But if you've seen the cost of a raised planter these days, you know they can run several $100s. However, you can build one of these planters for much less. So let's head into the workshop, and I'll show you how. Before I begin, let me give you a brief materials list. Keep in mind that I built this planter so that the end height was at an acceptable level to me. If you are taller or shorter, you can obviously change the dimensions. If you would like a detailed materials list and itemized cost, please give this video a like and leave me a comment below and I'll send you a PDF. Basically, you'll need the following: one 8-foot 4x4 cedar post, 4 to 6 8-foot 2x4s, around 20 4-foot cedar fence pickets, 5 feet of 1-inch PVC pipe,
a couple of boxes of deck screws, some air gun or regular brad nails, trash bag, a bag of rock, dirt or garden soil, and water plants.
Seriously, just comment below and I'll send you a materials list. As an option, you can add casters, but they're not absolutely necessary. I added them because I wanted to be able to move the planter to various spots on the patio to catch sunlight at different times of the day, and to have the ability to move the planter under our deck during inclement weather. I'll start by cutting the 8-foot 4x4 cedar post into 4 equal lengths of 2 feet. The length and width of this planter is 48 inches or 4 feet long by 17 inches wide, so I'll cut 2 of the 8-foot 2x4s in half and start constructing an upper and lower frame. For the sides of each frame and for the supports on the bottom frame, I'm cutting another 8-foot 2x4 into 14-inch length. Next, I'm going to cut what I'll call the risers, which will determine the depth of the planter bed once it's assembled. In my particular case, the length of these pieces is 7 inches. Here you can see the layout of the bottom frame, and then the placement of the uprights or risers, and how the upper frame will sit on them when fully constructed. To attach each of the risers to the upper and lower frame, I'm going to drill pocket holes in each side of the riser pieces with the pocket hole jig. I clamp the pocket hole jig towards the end of the riser piece that I want to drill, and use an additional clamp for stability. Then, using the special drill bit that comes with the pocket hole jig, drill the angled hole. I'll repeat this process for each side and end of all of the risers. Here's a quick look at the deconstructed frame of the planter before assembly. Now, using 3-inch deck screws, I'll begin assembling the bottom frame. You'll likely need a star head driver, and I find it handy to have one of these multi-head screwdriver sets. Plus, the girls really wanted to be in the video. I'm now going to switch to 2.5-inch deck screws to attach the uprights or risers to the bottom frame. It's nice to know they can sleep through anything. Switching back to 3-inch deck screws, it's time to move on to the upper frame assembly. And finally, after a quick flip, we'll attach the bottom and upright assembly to the top frame. If you recall at the very beginning of the video, I had cut the original 8-foot cedar post into 4 equal lengths of 2 feet. However, I'm finding that the overall height of this planter would be a bit too tall for my use. As I'm around 5 feet 6 inches tall, I really want the height of this planter bed to be right at my waist. That way, I'm not reaching up or stooping over in order to tend to the plants that will ultimately reside here. To remedy the height issue, I'm going to cut about 4 to 6 inches of length off of them. I also have to accommodate for the additional 2 inches of height that will be provided by adding casters to the bottom of these posts. An additional way to remove some of the height is to remove an inch or so from this end by notching them into the frame. It will also give me some additional surfaces to drill these legs into the frame for stability. After I've clearly marked my cut marks and the corners that I want to remove, I take each leg over to my table saw to make those cuts. Now we can see how the notched corner of the leg fits into the frame. And using a couple of clamps for stability, I use 3-inch deck screws to attach each leg to the inside frame. Two screws in each leg obviously isn't enough to provide stability for this planter, so as I did with the uprights before, I'm going to drill pocket holes on each side of the cedar post legs, and again use 3-inch deck screws to attach them to the frame. Ultimately, I even went back and added pocket holes at the corners of each of the legs. With another quick flip, we're starting to see this planter come together. For the bottom side of the planter, I'm using some cedar fence pickets cut to length. After all of the boards have been cut, they're attached with 1 1/2 inch deck screws around the frame edge and across the bottom frame cross supports. Using 3-inch deck screws and some washers, I attach each of the casters to the post legs. Again, casters are an option that I wanted for this planter, and they aren't absolutely necessary. Not adding them can provide some cost savings to the total build of this project. I do have to say that I like the mobility though. To address any drainage issues, I'm going to use 4 lengths of 1-inch PVC pipe and need to make the holes in the bottom side of the frame to accommodate them. Using a 1 1/8 inch Forstner bit with my drill, I make these holes in their measured and marked locations along the length of the bottom frame. Now I'm ready to add the cedar fence picket sides. I wanted this planter bed to mimic the same look as the privacy fence in our backyard, but you could finish it with other materials and in a completely different arrangement than the one I chose. Using 4-foot fence pickets, I cut them into 3 equal lengths of 16 inches. After cutting each to length, I then cut 45-degree dog-ear notches on one end of each board. With all boards cut and notched, I'm ready to attach them with 1-inch brads using my air gun. You could just as easily use brads or small nails and a hammer. And here's a quick look at it with all the pickets attached. While I had previously drilled the holes for the 1-inch PVC drainage pipe, I need to cut the 60-inch pipe down to 4 equal lengths of 15 inches. Here's how the drain pipes will look when inserted into the previously drilled holes. I want them to protrude about 4 inches from the planter, so I measure and mark each of the PVC pipes. I now take them over to my drill press, and using a jig that I made to hold the pipe steady during drilling, I'll drill some drain holes in the end of the PVC pipe at 2-inch intervals, and then rotate the PVC pipe and repeat the process about 60 degrees from the original holes. Finally, I'll drill another set of holes offset from the original sets of holes. After placing them back in the planter, here's what they look like. I've oriented each pipe to a slight angle by wedging a small piece of wood under them, and used a hot glue gun to secure them. In order to prevent dirt and water from seeping through the bottom of the planter, I've arranged and stapled regular garbage bags as a vapor barrier around the bottom of the planter. I'm now adding some 1 to 2 inch lava rock as a large drainage base around each of the drainage pipes, and then some pea gravel as a small drainage base over the lava rock, but really any type of rock would do. Using additional garbage bags, I staple them to the lip of the planter to create a vapor barrier wall along the sides. As the last of the vapor barrier is stapled in place, it's ready to wheel this outside and fill with your favorite garden soil and plants. And with that, you've got a really nice looking planter. I hope you've enjoyed this project and give it a try at home. Total cost of this project was around $100, a little less if you ditch the casters. Please give this video a like and share it with your friends and gardeners. Remember to comment below if you'd like a materials list sent to you in PDF format. If you'd be so kind, hit that subscribe button. And as always, thanks for watching.